Welcome to the Cinematic Trail, an AI-generated deep dive conversation into the ever-evolving world of cinematography. From exposure theory to lens choices, from lighting philosophy to creative workflows, we explore the craft, the gear, and the stories behind the frame, one trail marker at a time. Want to take your cinematography to the next level? Explore our online courses and learn more at CNOMADIC.com. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for weekly insights and inspiration. Let's begin the journey.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Let's dive right in. Just imagine you're a cinematographer, right? You've planned this perfect outdoor shoot for a podcast, using that lovely natural light, maybe a few fixtures just to shape things a bit, got the gear all picked out for outdoors.
Yeah, the ideal scenario.
Then, bam, production throws you a curveball, weather turns, rain, the whole weekend.
Oh, no.
So now you're scrambling, you're stuck inside, place you've never even seen before, with gear that was really meant for, outside. What do you even do?
Right. Well, that's the kind of thing that gives production folks nightmares, for sure. But for a DP, cinematographer, that's kind of where the real art, the problem solving really kicks in. Because lighting, it isn't just about making things look pretty.
Yeah.
It's fundamentally about dealing with constraints. You walk into a space, you have a goal, you have limits of the room, the gear you're stuck with.
Yeah.
And you basically have to engineer a solution. You got to make it work.
Yeah.
And every little decision you make there has these knock-on effects.
Exactly. And that's really what we're diving into today. We've got some great source material here from Chris Tinard, a cinematographer, shared on the Cinematic channel. He breaks down this exact situation, suddenly having to light this 3-person podcast indoors using gear that was meant for outside. So our mission really is to go through his whole process, step by step, understand why he made certain choices under that pressure.
Right.
And pull out those core ideas that, apply way beyond just setting up lights.
Yeah, it sounds like a masterclass in adapting on the fly.
Yeah.
Because lighting is really about, shaping, adding light, taking it away, controlling the levels, all to serve the scene or the story. But always, always within the reality of your location and the tools you actually have. It ends up being this series of calculated compromises and creative workarounds.
Okay, so let's walk through it like Chris describes. He walks into the room, first thing, what hits him? What's the big unavoidable thing he's got to deal with immediately?
The windows.
Yeah.
Huge windows, and also the main entryway, just pouring in daylight.
That's your main uncontrollable light source right there. You can't, dim the sun.
Ah, yeah, no kidding.
Or tell the clouds, hey, could you move a bit?
So the environment's giving you free light, but it's wild, unpredictable, powerful. So the immediate question is, okay, do we fight that window light or try to work with it?
Exactly. And that decision, it totally hinges on whether you've got enough juice, enough power in your own lights, your controlled lights, to either blast away the window light if you want to kill it,
Okay.
or balance it out if you want to actually use it as part of the look. Chris had the Aperture 1200D, which is a beast. It's a really powerful light designed partly for exactly that, fighting the sun outdoors.
Oh.
Plus, the fact that it was overcast, that actually helped. It diffused the window light, made it softer, less harsh.
So they felt they could actually work with the windows?
Yeah, they felt pretty confident they could balance it. So the decision made,
Yeah.
use the windows, incorporate them. And that's our first big takeaway, right? Identify your uncontrollable light sources first.
And decide early on, if you can and if you will, work with them, or if you need to somehow block them out or overpower them. Everything else flows from that.
Okay, windows are the foundation. Got it. What's the next logical step then? You've assessed the room, decided on the window light. What now?
Framing. You've got to figure out your framing. Because they knew, look, we don't have enough lights to just flood this whole room even.
Right, limited resources.
So they couldn't just put the people anywhere. They had to decide precisely what the cameras would see. For the wide shot, with all 3 people, and also for the individual close-ups. Nailing down those frames was critical.
And that tells you where you absolutely cannot put your lights and stands.
Exactly. Think of it like valuable real estate for your gear. If you know the camera lens is going to see that corner over there, no light stand can go there, period.
Makes sense.
And with 4 cameras pointing different ways, finding spots for lights, even for boom mics that stayed out of every single shot, that gets tricky. So deciding the framing early sort of carves out the safe zones for your equipment.
Got it. So know the existing light, know the frame. Now, how do you actually want the people to look? What was the creative goal for lighting their faces, and
Yeah.
what technique did that point towards?
Well, the standard goal, especially for like an interview setup, is you want to create some dimension, some contrast on the face.
Huh?
Typically, you want the side of the face that's looking more towards the main camera to be a little bit darker, the fill side.
Right.
And the other side, maybe where they're looking towards someone else they're talking to, you want that to be brighter, the key side.
Right, the classic interview look.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for 3 people sitting side by side, talking to each other a lot, they went for a technique called cross-keying.
Cross-keying. Okay, how does that actually work for 3 people in a row?
So it means the main light, the key light for, let's say, person A on one end, it actually comes from the side where person B is sitting.
Oh, okay.
So the light stand is kind of behind person A relative to where they look when they talk to person B, and it hits the other side of their face, the side pointing away from their main camera.
Interesting.
And then you do the same for person B. The key light comes from person A's side. It does mean your lights need to have pretty good reach, a good throw, because they're positioned further away, kind of off to the side and back.
That sounds, strategic. And I remember reading it led to a really efficient use of their lights, didn't it? Since they didn't have that many.
It really did. That was a major plus of this cross-key setup. It let them make their lights do double duty.
How so?
Well, the light that's keying person A, right, coming from B's side, you can carefully shape that light using flags.
Those black panels.
Yeah, exactly. Opaque panels to block or cut the light. You shape it so it also hits person B from behind, acting as an edge light or a backlight for them.
Ah, so one light does the key for person A and the edge for person B.
Precisely. And they did the same thing with the light that was keying person B, shaped it to also give an edge to person A.
Yeah.
So effectively, with just those 2 main lights set up for cross-keying, they created 4 functions, 2 keys and 2 edges.
Wow.
It's a classic way to maximize what you've got when resources are tight.
Okay, that's clever. So the 2 people on the ends are sort of keyed and edged now, but the person in the middle, this is where Chris mentioned some debate, right?
Yes, this was definitely a challenge. And as the cinematographer himself admits, maybe where he made a questionable call, at least initially, the person in the middle, they look left sometimes, they look right sometimes. So which side should be the key side, the bright side? Which should be the fill, the darker side? It wasn't obvious.
And they were short on lights still.
They just didn't have another fixture they could dedicate only as a key light for that middle person. So the DP's first instinct was, okay, let's use the big softbox on the 600D, which was already set up on one side,
Right.
and try and make that light hit both the middle person and the person on that same end, kind of stretch its coverage.
But someone else on set wasn't convinced.
Yeah, his son, actually, who was working as the PA, the production assistant, and happens to be in film school.
Oh, wow.
The son felt pretty strongly they needed to figure out a way to get a key light positioned on the other side for the middle person to get that more traditional, contrasty interview look on their main camera angle.
The PA challenging the DP, that takes guts. So why stick with the original plan if the film student had doubts?
Well, the cinematographer, the DP, his reasoning was partly about physical space. He wasn't sure there was actually room on the other side of the set for that big 600D and its softbox.
Logistics.
Yeah, practicalities. And crucially, moving that light would mean the person on the end over there wouldn't have a key light anymore. So it's really those logistical constraints and needing one light to serve multiple people that kind of won out in that first decision, even with the reservation.
Okay, so the lights are roughly placed, maybe not perfectly ideal for the middle person, but placement is decided. Levels are still probably all over the place. What's the absolute first thing you do now before touching the intensity dials?
Expose the cameras. Specifically, expose them based on the windows.
Ah, back to the windows.
Always back to the uncontrollable element first. This is critical. You cannot change how bright those windows are moment to moment. So you have to set your camera's base exposure based on the thing you have zero power over.
So you basically dial in your camera settings, aperture, ISO, shutter to make the windows look, well, acceptable, not totally blown out.
Exactly right. The goal is usually to get the windows bright, maybe right there on the very edge of flipping, of being slightly overexposed, but ideally still holding some detail. You don't want just pure white blobs.
Okay.
And here's the really crucial part of that principle.
Yeah.
Once you set those camera settings for the windows, you lock them down. You do not touch those exposure settings again. From then on, all your indoor lights, your controlled lights, have to be brought up or down to match those fixed camera settings.
That's a huge point. Expose for the uncontrollable first, lock it, then bring everything else up to match. Okay, so cameras are set for the windows. Now you start powering up your own lights.
Right. Now you turn on your aperture lights, the 1200D, the 600D, the others, and you gradually increase their intensity, their brightness, until your subjects, the people, look properly exposed against that background level set by the windows and your locked camera settings.
Yeah.
You're essentially filling the scene and lighting your talent up to that predetermined exposure level.
Got it. And once the basic brightness level feels right, that's when the real shaping comes in, the fine-tuning.
That's the finessing stage, exactly. This is where you grab those flags we talked about, or maybe barn doors on the lights, or grids, other shaping tools. Flags are key because they just block light. They let you be really precise about where light falls and where it doesn't.
So like making sure that edge light only hits the shoulder and hair, not spilling onto their nose.
Precisely. Or preventing light from your key source from spilling onto the background wall.
Yeah.
If you want the background to stay darker, more moody. They also mentioned using a bigger flag, a 4x4 floppy, they called it.
Right.
Specifically to block unwanted spill light, maybe bouncing off a wall or coming from another source, from hitting the subjects unintentionally. It's all about control.
Control, yeah. They also mentioned a specific issue with one corner of the room just being really dark, like a black hole. How did they tackle that specific?
Yeah, another nice little bit of problem solving there. They took their most powerful light, that 1200D.
The beast.
The beast.
Yeah.
Placed it in that dark corner, and then they attached a cone to it, sometimes called a snoot.
Okay, what does that do?
It just dramatically narrows the beam of light, makes it like a tight spotlight. And they pointed this tight beam straight up at the ceiling in that corner.
Pointing a super bright light straight at the ceiling, that seems weird.
It does, but it's a standard technique. Bouncing light off a surface, especially a large neutral surface like a white ceiling or wall, it softens the light massively.
Ah, okay.
See, a direct light source, like a bare bulb or even that 1200D direct, is hard light, creates sharp, defined shadows. But bouncing it makes that whole ceiling area become the light source, effectively a much bigger, softer source.
I see.
So by using the cone to focus the 1200D's power onto just one spot on the ceiling, they could bounce a controlled amount of soft ambient light back down into just that dark corner, lifting its level without blasting light all over the set.
Oh.
And then, of course, they adjusted the intensity so it wasn't too bright, and probably used that 4x4 floppy again just to make super sure none of that bounced ceiling light accidentally spilled onto the subjects where they didn't want it.
That's a great example of using, like, the physics of light and the gear you have in a creative way to fix a specific problem. Okay, but let's circle back to the middle person and that potential. Let's call it suboptimal initial lighting decision. How did that whole situation resolve itself?
Ah, yes. This is the really interesting kind of unexpected twist in the story. Later in the afternoon, hours into the shoot, the weather outside shifted again. The cloud cover changed.
Oh.
And suddenly, significantly more daylight started coming through the window on the other side of the middle person.
Right, the side where the PA had said the key light should have been?
Exactly that side.
No way.
Yeah. So this increased natural window light ended up acting as this perfect, beautiful, soft key light on the middle person's right side, which in turn made their left side, the side getting some light from that 600D, automatically become the fill side.
So nature basically corrected the setup.
Pretty much. As Chris, the DP, put it, the window light basically reversed the key to what it should have been. It effectively fixed that initial decision, which had been made because of gear constraints.
Wow. And the PA was right all along.
He absolutely was. And to his credit, the cinematographer freely admits it in the breakdown. It's, a humbling moment, I guess.
Yeah.
Sometimes the junior person on set really does see something important.
Yeah.
But it also crucially reinforces that other principle. Yeah, the window light saved the day this time, but relying on something as unpredictable as daylight for a critical function like your main key light, that's super risky.
Right, because the clouds could have shifted back half an hour later.
Exactly. If they'd had a controlled light source there instead, even if it looked similar, they would have had consistent, predictable levels all day long, no matter what the weather did. That predictability is gold in production.
Absolutely. Controlled light gives you, control. Makes sense. Now, beyond just brightness and shape, there was one other big challenge they had to wrestle with in this mixed indoor setup: color temperature.
Oh, yeah. Mixing different types of light sources is always tricky when it comes to color. They had a real mix going on.
What were the different types?
Well, you had the 56K daylight coming from the windows, right? And also the 1200D and 600D are daylight balanced, so they're also around 5600 Kelvin.
Okay, so cool light.
Cool bluish light, yeah. But then they also had some smaller lights, 300x and a 200x, which can be set to 32K or tungsten balance. And plus, any practical lamps like table lamps just existing in the room, those are usually warm tungsten lights around 3200K.
So you've got cool daylight and warm tungsten fighting each other. What does that K actually stand for again?
K is for Kelvin. It's just the scale we use to measure the color temperature of light. Think of it like actual temperature, but for color. Lower numbers are warmer colors, like the reddish-orange glow of an old-fashioned incandescent bulb or candlelight that's down around, say, 2000 to 3200K.
Okay, warm is low K.
Right. And higher Kelvin numbers mean cooler, bluer light. Like midday daylight is usually pegged around 5600K.
Yeah.
Shade, or even like a camera flash, can be even cooler, bluer, like 6500K or higher.
Gotcha.
So mixing those warm 32K sources and cool 56K sources in the same shot. Unless you're deliberately going for that very specific mixed light look, it can cause real problems. Skin tones look weird, whites don't look white.
Yeah, I can picture that. So how do you make all those different colors kind of play nice together? What was their process?
Well, they started by taking a reading. They used a white card, held it up in the light where the talent would be, and used the camera's white balance function to measure the average color temperature of all that mixed light hitting the card.
Okay, what did it read?
It came back at 3800K. So
Okay.
38K, that was the average the camera was seeing from that mix of mostly 56K daylight and some 32K tungsten.
Right.
But based on the look they wanted, they felt that 4000K or 40K was actually the right target white balance setting for the camera. They wanted it slightly warmer than pure neutral, but not super orange.
Oh, okay. Target 40K.
Because the 56K daylight was so dominant, to shift that overall average color temp slightly warmer up towards their 40K target, they actually needed to introduce more of the 32K warm light into the scene to influence that average.
Okay, that makes sense now. So how do they add more warm light?
They used their 300x light, which they could specifically set to output 3200K tungsten light. And they didn't point it directly at the talent. They bounced it off a whiteboard, like a piece of foam core, something similar.
Why bounce it?
Well, partly for softness, like we talked about with the ceiling bounce, it makes the light less harsh.
Yeah.
But also, in this case, bouncing it helps spread that warm 32K light more broadly onto the subjects and just generally into the scene, helping to lift that overall color balance towards the 40K they were aiming for.
Got it. So softening the light and adding that crucial warm influence at the same time.
Exactly. So once they had that bounce going, the final step was to manually set the camera's white balance setting to their target, 4000K.
Locked it in.
Locked it in. And then you always do a final check by eye, looking at the monitor, making small tweaks maybe to the light's intensity or position, just ensuring the skin tones look natural and pleasing. The goal was, subjects look good, the room itself maybe feels slightly warm, but the windows or any reflections from them don't look distractingly, unnaturally blue because you've pushed the white balance too far. It's definitely a delicate balancing act.
Wow. Okay.
So what we really see playing out here, I think, is how cinematography lighting, especially when you're forced to adapt like this, it's really less about having, the perfect truck full of gear and much more about this layered, principle-driven approach to solving problems under constraints.
Yeah.
It starts with that initial assessment of the environment, nailing down the framing, then strategically placing lights based on technique like cross-keying and efficiency.
Yeah.
Then that absolutely critical step of setting your levels by exposing for the uncontrollable first, then refining everything with shaping tools, tackling specific problems like dark corners, and finally wrestling with and balancing the color temperature of all your mixed sources. It's quite a process.
And learning from the unexpected twists, too, like that happy accident where the weather basically fixed a potential lighting mistake for them, or even just the lesson that, hey, maybe listen to the PA sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Listening to different perspectives on set can be invaluable. This scenario really underlines the value of experimentation, of being willing to adapt based on what you're actually seeing in the moment and what your resources truly allow.
It's about getting the best possible result given the hand you're dealt, basically. Constantly looking, evaluating, adjusting.
Precisely. It's that iterative process of problem solving.
And this whole layered approach, this process of solving problems with limited gear, adapting to things you can't control like the weather, and actually learning from the outcome, that's not just for filmmakers, is it?
Not at all.
Think about how this applies as you tackle complex challenges in your own field, your own area of interest. What are the uncontrollables, the windows in your situation that you need to account for first and build everything else around?
That's a wrap for this episode. Thanks for the great conversation.
Yeah, really great insights today. Thanks for tuning in and spending some time with us.
Thank you for joining us on the Cinematic Trail. We hope today's journey sparked new ideas and sharpened your eye behind the lens. Until next time, stay curious, stay creative, and as always, happy filming.